May he rest in peace. Now, today we will be going over Michael Jackson, please. Sorry, Michael Jackson's my guest star. Thanks, Mike. Like I said, today we will be going over the No Child Left Behind Act. Now, if you're wondering why I'm dressed up like this and why I have a cape, I just came from a war and, spoiler alert, I won. So today, I already said that, we're going over the No Child Left Behind Act. Now, if you're wondering, what's the No Child Left Behind Act? Well, I'm gonna tell you. Now, so this is, I'm gonna tell you. And, right, okay, so I'm sorry, audience. Okay, but okay, let's get down to business. But yeah, seriously, bust out some notes because I'm about to lay out some knowledge, okay? So, the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 was in effect from 2002 to 2015. This law was for grades for grades kindergarten to 12th grade for general education of the United States. The purpose of this law was for the schools to be held accountable for how children learned and how children would learn and achieve. See, before this act was put into place, before the act was put into place, children with disabilities and disadvantages wouldn't get the proper education like everyone else would. And sometimes they would be left out in all sorts of things like states tests and the important parts of education and all, and all that stuff. So, basically, to get really down to it, many schools didn't focus on the progress on the disadvantaged students. Like, for example, students with disabilities and needs and special education were most likely left out of the general education and were excluded from the state tests. That is not good. But you want to know who proposed this? You really want to know? I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you because I know you want to know. Do you have your notes out? Mr. Richardson, you have your notes? Hope you do. And this is A-worthy. But basically, the president that put this into law, that passed this, was George W. Bush. Give him a round of applause. Okay, now, when this act was put into place, it was focused on students of poverty, students of color, students receiving special education services, and those who speak and understand limited English. Because keep in mind, not everyone, just because you're in America, doesn't always mean people speak English, okay? Even now, you have some people talking Spanish. No respect to the people talking Spanish. But, hey, fun fact, Spanish is actually the hardest language to learn. Ain't that right, Cody? Yeah? Yeah. So, basically, when this was put in the law, there was requirements. Like, the requirements for the United States were, the requirements for the states were required to administer yearly tests of the reading mathematics skills of public school students and to demonstrate adequate progress toward raising the scores of all students to the level as defined as proficient. Isn't that a magic word? Proficient. But basically, proficient higher by 2014. If you really think about that, that's very recent. Can Michael Jackson bust out a verse for me? Come on, Mike. So beat it. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Mike. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, relax. He gets a little carried away. You gotta bust out the... You want me to bust? I'll bust out the moonwalk for you. Hold on. Oh, shoot. Yeah! Ignore that part. But shoot. Okay, let's get back to business so I can earn this. Okay, so basically, those are the requirement provision by 2014. The teachers were required to meet higher standards for certification, and the schools that failed to meet this requirement would be subject to would basically get some. They be, I think, big trouble. Okay. Now, when I was doing my research on this, I tried. Okay, so the NCLB Act, or No Child Left Behind Act, I'm going to tell you the outcome on the schools, because there were some good outcomes and there were some bad outcomes. So the outcomes on the school, basically how it affected the schools was the National Assessment of Education Practice. There was proof, the National Assessment of Education Practice was proof of achievement increase around the passage of the NCLB, and the following half decade showed steady improvement. See, the progress wasn't too big. They were real even with the small, right? Right? See, even with the small. So even with the small boost of, even the small boost of some schools, there were also some negative outcomes. You see, when the school systems were putting into practice, they saw this kind of strict, and because they were constantly testing the students, but there was some bad stuff, because they would focus so much on some parts where they would leave out other parts like mathematics, social studies, and all that stuff. But in 2015, this act was, but obviously, as the years went by, they've done better education wise. So as you can see, this the NCLB, it did a pretty good job, because we've come a long way. You have children with 4.0 GPAs and 4.7. See, the NCLB Act is super cool, because there are people out there who there are people out there who they're special disabilities, and just because they're different from us doesn't mean they don't deserve the right education just like we do. So right. So basically, in 2015, the NCLB Act, or No Child Left Behind Act, it was replaced with Every Student Succeeds Act. This retained parties of the old law, but attempted to make less punitive. Okay, here what I was trying to say. It made less to underperforming schools. So looking back on this, the NCLB was seen as overly harsh approach to education reform, because when this act came, it was given to the public. There was test. It was back to back. It was crazy, and there was a lot of pressure. But it did improve. This act did improve the education, because unlike the graph I have up right now, you see here's math gains from the No Child Left Behind Act by race. See, for the 9-year-olds, in 1999. See, from 1999 to 2004, it went from a 239 to a 245. See, as you see, that may not be that big throughout the years, but it's still, proved. And from 2004 to 2008, it went from a 245 to a 250. And from 2008 to 2012, it went from a 250. From 2008 to 2012, it went from a 250 to a 252. See, it's built little by little, people. And with African American, now keep in mind, these are 9-year-olds now. It went from 1999 to 2004. It went from a 211 to 221. And from 2004 to 2008, it went from a 221 to 224. And from 2008 to 2012, it went from a 224 to a 226. Now, come on, man. Really? That's a good job, right? And last but not least, with our Hispanic 9-year-olds, in 1998, it went from a 213 to 1998, it started as a 213. Into 2004, it increased to a 229. And from 2008 to 2012, it went from a 234 to it stayed at a 234. But, as you can see, this law has improved schools and children education. It has. See, and it's improved. And it's a good thing it did, because where do you think we would be without that law? Right? Now, I apologize if I did not do good at explaining this. If you want to check it out, if you need help in classes, I highly recommend Heimless History. I'm getting paid to say that. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am. So basically, overall, the No Child Left Behind Act, even though it may seem like pretty recent because it's still in the 2000s, it helped kids, thousands of kids everywhere. In conclusion, thousands of kids everywhere. So if it wasn't for George W. Bush, who knows, man? Who knows? But with that will be all. Thank you for watching my video. And today, that will be all with me. Now I will be leaving with me, my dog Cody. Thank you for watching. Good night. Just be there. Okay.